Hey, I'm Dmitry with Hardware Canucks and welcome to another video. I think the enclosure market is changing direction. I think we're moving away from building the biggest to building the smallest and most compact and space-efficient cases while still maintaining all the features, all the functionality. So today we're doing a mini-ITX showdown, comparing some of the latest and some of the most popular offerings within the current market. Now this doesn't mean showcasing the best mini-ITX cases, but this is just to give you an idea of what is available and how they compare against each other. So let's get started. So the 5 cases on display today are the Corsair Obsidian 250D, which is the latest addition to the series, the BitFenix Colossus, the mini-ITX version, Cooler Master Elite 130, the Note 304 from Fractal Design, this is not a microwave, EVGA Hadron AIR, there's their first case that certainly needs a revision too, and lastly the Lian Li PC-Q30, very interesting case with pretty unique design. Now let's first outline all the criteria that will be making this throwdown possible. We'll be taking a look at price, volume. Volume is important because it gives us relative comparison as to the internal layout space efficiency. We'll take a look at power supply compatibility, graphics cards limitations, CPU cooler options, drive storage potential, and finally dust proofing. So starting with the first, the most expensive of the pack would be the EVGA Hadron AIR, but that's because it actually comes with a 500 watt gold power supply, so the higher price tag may actually be slightly misleading. Next is the all aluminum Lian Li case that brings in at $149, plus this is a very limited edition. Coming in after that is the BitFenix Colossus and the Note 304, both of which ring in at $100. Now keep in mind the internal layout of the Colossus is identical as the original Prodigy and the Phenom lineup, so we're technically not singling out this particular model. The latest Obsidian brings in a very competitive price of $90, and lastly the Elite 130 has only $50. Next is the internal volume. In a way, it determines whether or not the case is space efficient, so you can go as compact as possible without compromising on internal functionality. The largest of the pack, coming close to 30 liters, is the Colossus. It's not surprising given there's a full hard drive cage inside, and it has also been designed for water cooling in mind. The next case is slightly smaller at 28 liters, the 250D. Now it's still considered slightly bulky for its form factor, but also it does have internal water cooling support. Next on the list is the PC Q30. This is Lian Li's case, would make a really cool modders case, but because of the curve you do have limited compatibility and functionality. The Note 304 and the Elite 130 come very close to each other, almost exact same volume of just under 20 liters. One looks like a mini fridge and the other like a typical Cooler Master case. And lastly, the smallest guys of the pack is the Hadron AIR at just under 16 liters. Now that we have the price and size out of the way, let's jump inside these cases and see how it deals with power supply, graphics cards, and cooler compatibility. And starting with the Hadron AIR, the reason why it's so small is because of the included slim power supply. It occupies the bottom portion of the case and it does not interfere with the rest. So up to 10.5-inch graphics cards are supported with 5.5 inches for your CPU cooler. Moving on to the Note, because the power supply is installed at the front of the case, units longer than 160mm will restrict long graphics cards. So go for smaller power supplies and you still will have 12 inches for your GPU and 6.5 inches for your CPU cooler. The Elite 130 takes a slightly different approach with top-mounted full-sized ATX power supply with 13 inches of clearance for your GPU, and this is really meant for 120mm all-in-one closed-loop water coolers instead of a CPU tower, just because of the 3-inch clearance between your motherboard and the power supply. The PC Q30 is a bit different, requiring an SFX power supply, so we have 7.8 inches for your graphics card and 5 inches for your CPU cooler. Moving on to the Corsair 250D, thanks to a very open design that will support any size power supply, we have 11.5 inches for your GPU and 3.5 inches for your CPU cooler. And just like on the Elite 130, this is designed for an all-in-one closed loop, and we have a 240mm radiator support, so an all-in-one cooler is the ideal solution here. And finally, the Colossus power supply is installed at the rear. Because the chamber is sort of closed off by the hard drive cage, units only up to 160mm will fit. There's 12.5 inches for your GPU with the top hard drive cage removed, and almost 7 inches for your CPU cooler. So based on that, 4 out of the 6 cases will support internal all-in-one closed water coolers, only 2 of which can support the 240mm radiators. So the 250D and the Colossus, effectively the 2 largest cases out of the pack. Now, aside from having the best cooling and having the best support for enthusiast hardware, a lot of mini-ITX cases are turned into NAS units, so network attached storage, so drive capacity is key. The Node 3 or 4 is the best option with 6 drive slots available for either SSD or mechanical drives, followed by the Colossus that has an integrated drive cage with 5 total drives supported. Then there is the Elite with a good combination of either 3.5 or 2.5-inch drives internally. The Q30 from Lian Li, due to its size limitations, can only handle solid-state drives, 4 of them, and the Hadron AIR would only support for 2 drive slots. But this means each case is unique. If you try to cramp as much stuff as possible into a mini-ITX enclosure, you're effectively making it bigger. While going on the other side, if you're trying to make it as compact as possible, you do arise to some compromises. So the 250D and the Colossus both have internal water cooling support for 240mm radiators. This is excellent news for enthusiasts who want to utilize that function, while the Node 304 and the Elite 130 have sort of an all-around excellent application for drive storage capacity and enthusiast hardware support. You just don't have that water cooling abilities as the 250D and the Colossus. The PC Q30 is a whole nother story. It's just a unique case that would be perfect for modders, for example, but it doesn't have the same type of functionality that we have come to expect from a mini-ITX enclosure. If you're really strict on the budget, the Elite 130 at just $50 is almost a no-brainer, considering how much things you can pack in there without any type of restrictions on your graphics card, power supply, and as long as you're using a closed-loop 120mm water cooler inside, you're golden. Only 2 cases out of the pack are fully dust-proof. That's the Node 304 and the 250D, while the Hadron AIR doesn't have any intake, so don't worry about that. 4 out of the 6 cases support some sort of optical drive, and while working with each case is slightly different, the individual chamber layout on the 250D and the Colossus is just slightly more convenient, given there's more room for cable management, and cable routing is overall easier. The Hadron AIR, I think, looks the best out of all the cases, and it is also the smallest out of the pack that can still support enthusiast-grade GPUs. And the PC Q30, like I said, is just very unique. It is a very particular case with very particular needs, and I'm sure there's going to be people that would find the use for the case, especially within the modder community. Now, I hope this guide has been helpful exploring the mini-ITX options on the market, but I can't end the video without mentioning the Silverstone SG line, as they pack extreme space efficiency and excellent functionality into their cases. Just sucks we don't have any on hand to show and compare with the rest of the cases. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this content has been helpful. Make sure to thumbs up and subscribe for more similar content. And if you do decide to go the mini-ITX route, let us know in the comments below as to what case you finally ended up choosing and building your system, and what type of specifications you went with it, because I'm sure a lot of people are now interested in that small form factor, including myself. So I'm sure that all these setups are going to be very helpful for the rest of our readers and our viewers. So guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Now, aside from having the best cooling and support for enthusiast hardware, a lot of mini-ITX systems are turned into NSA units. NSA.